Have you heard that the secret to eBay success is just to list, 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 list? Well, we're here to tell you, if you do that, you may actually go out of business instead of increasing your business. That was a hard word to say.
All right, take two. Say it isn't so, Prof. Have you just invited people in by suggesting some clickbait title?
Not at all. Because this subject has been on my heart of late, so I wanted to talk about it in today's video. So I am Prof Sales, and welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel.
And I'm just nobody. And I'm Just Ask Karen. And it's Friday, so we're kind of off the rail today.
Today? Yeah, it's kind of So this channel, we talk about being a reseller. We talk about selling on e-commerce platforms like eBay and Amazon, Poshmark, so on. And we also talk about your mindset and motivation for being an entrepreneur, being in business for yourself, all kinds of things like that. We have a live show going on right now. So if you ever want to join us, we're on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 o'clock time. And you can join the chat. But if you have a question or comment you want to leave afterwards, please leave it down below after this video post.
Or come visit. We're usually home.
Yeah, you could just swing by. So... you know, again, Karen and I always have this funny love-hate relationship with coming up with topics for the show.
I had no idea what
you didn't know where I was going, did you?
You know, that whole chemistry thing.
Well, there you go. So I want to talk about, if you've sold on eBay for any length of time, then you probably have gone on YouTube potentially. You've looked up reselling, you've looked up selling on eBay, how to be successful on eBay, something like that. And you've gotten some ideas from the people who produce content on YouTube, or maybe in a Facebook group, you've gone and you've said, man, my sales are this, and I want them to be that, whatever that is. You want to improve your sales, and that's a logical course of action that we all take, right? I mean, we all start selling, and then we think, how do we improve what we're doing? And so we go online and we start asking people, well, what are some ways to do it?
Because everything that we see or hear on the internet is truth.
It's true. It's true. All right. So there's an idea out there between a lot of people who sell on YouTube or sell on eBay, who come on YouTube or Facebook or any group really you want to talk about. And wouldn't you say, Karen, the number one question or the number one answer to the question, how do I increase my sales on eBay? What do people say?
Oh, it's always list. List the thingies and then list some more. And then when you're done with that, list again. List, list, list.
And you know what? To be perfectly honest, we have said similar things.
We have. And so this is like the part where, and I kind of get a little tired of having to do a disclaimer because no offense, but people don't always hear everything that we're trying to put down here, right?
Right, right.
And we're by no means are we going back on anything that we've said, but I think it's important to note that we're going to sort of challenge you a little bit. You know, when you made your Instagram bumper today, it was perfect because you kind of owned up to, you know, your way is kind of taking whatever the conventional wisdom is,
right,
and almost turning it on its head at times, you know, challenging the status quo, if you will. We're not saying that if you list, you're not going to get more sales. Of course, that's all part of it, but that's the whole point of today. Oh, I might have just jumped ahead and gave it all away, but we're gonna talk about that it's not only one part of, it's not only the finishing piece to that puzzle, right? It's a part of it. But we're going to kind of, you know, when he first brought it up this morning, somebody said something really funny in the earlier chat, like when it just started about, you know, the title and what we were going to talk about. But when you first brought it up this morning, my reaction was like, wait, what? Didn't we just say that you're supposed to, like, oh my gosh, the world is ending. What are you talking about, Prof? But that's, you know.
Yeah. And Seam Store says, I see, challenge us not to list so you guys can sell everything. That's pretty funny. But that's not what we're doing. I promise. Not at all. I promise that's not what we're aiming for. Although, if everyone within the sound of my voice wants to quit selling, I'm not going to argue with you, quit listing, because it'll help me. Quit
No,
selling and listing.
I would argue with you because that's not what you want to do. It's not why you're here.
It's not why we're here.
And we're going to make this better. So stay with us because I promise it's going to make a whole lot more sense as we go forward.
That's quite a promise to make. I don't know if I can live up to that promise, but we'll try.
Well, it's going to make sense. And you can still agree or disagree. But we need you to kind of be in a place to start that's accurate. Like, don't just kind of give a knee-jerk reaction to, oh, Prof said you don't have to list. No. If we're clear on one thing today, that's not at all what we're saying.
Right.
So take it away.
Why, thanks, Vanna. I don't know if that was Vanna or who you were doing.
No, it was like, who was that? Ed Sullivan? Not Ed Sullivan.
Ed McMahon?
No, it was pre that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And probably most of the folks.
Anyway, this whole idea of listing every day is not really a viable strategy. You're right there.
Yeah, I was slinking.
Having a moment.
I was slinking away.
Okay, so let's imagine, I love using analogies, right? And so in this case, I want you to imagine a retail store, a brick and mortar store. It can be any store you want. And let's imagine that this store has 10,000 items on their sales floor, decent sized store. And they're not happy with their sales. Doesn't really matter what their sales are in this particular example. They're not happy with their sales. So they want to improve them. They want to make them better. So they decide to add another 1,000 items to their sales floor. All right. Now, after they do that, they'll have 11,000 items. And let's say that their sales still do not improve. So they decide to buy and put out another 1,000 and another 1,000 and another 1,000 and so on and so on and so on until they get the sales bump that they want or they think they should be getting. This is very similar to eBay, and there's a big problem with this. There's actually 3 problems with this approach. Space is the first one. If you own a brick and mortar store, you only have so much space. You only have so much square footage, and you can do things to maximize that square footage by the way you place things and taking things higher, vertical, spacing out your fixtures is, as logically as possible. However, depends on what you're selling, but you've only got so much space. The second component is time and energy. It takes time and energy to put out all those items, to merchandise those items, to price those items, to store those items, to bring those items in the back room, break them down out of inventory and get them on the sales floor. This all takes a lot of time. I used to work for a big box retailer, and I can tell you the process of breaking down freight, we called it, and putting it on the sales floor and putting back stock back where it goes, it took a lot of man hours, no question about it. It was not a simple, easy process. And the third problem with this approach is money, capital. You have to keep reinvesting capital into more and more inventory if you want to take this approach in a retail store. So what does that all have to do with eBay? Well, your eBay business has exactly the same limitations as that retail store that I just mentioned. So let's talk about that. You may have a listing cap, list 100 items or 500 items or 1,000 items, right? Now, maybe your cap is really big to the point you're nowhere near it, but you probably do still have the second part of that limitation, and that's storage space. A lot of us store our eBay business items in our homes, in our garages, in a closet, in a spare bedroom, whatever. And eventually you run out of space. Now, if you're selling something smaller, maybe you've got a huge amount of space as well. So that could be, not such a limitation for some people, but for a lot of us it is. The second part of the limitation is you have finite time and energy to source, photograph, and list. As we mentioned in Wednesday's show, it takes hours. I said it took probably 10 hours to go source 100 items. And that's if you're pretty quick at it. It may take you longer than that. It's going to take you at least that long to photograph them and some time to list them. You've only got a finite number of hours in the day, in a week, in a month, in a year, and you cannot just devote infinite time to your eBay business and this listing process, right? So the third part of this is capital. And this is probably the toughest one, and the one that a lot of people seem to forget with this list strategy. Where does the money come from? Because if you're not getting the sales, and Karin's looking for it, maybe it'll fall from heaven. If you're not getting sales that bring capital back into the business, where is the money going to come from for you to invest in new items to list? Even if you do have the space and you do have the time and the energy and the ability, you don't have a listing cap. Where does the money come from? Show me the money.
Well, I think
Jerry Maguire, you missed it. You missed it.
You had me at money.
You think what?
It comes from mom, grandma, grandpa.
Right, that's true. It could, but that's the one that I struggle with the most to understand. And let's think about this. Think about if you had just a smaller store. Say you have 100 items listed and you want to list and your sales aren't great and you're only selling 10 items a month and you want to sell, and so you want to, well, I'm going to list more. So I'm going to go buy another 100 items for that. You're only selling 10 a month. And where's your money coming from to do that? Now you may have a stash of money that's a capital reserve you've built up from your business, but eventually you're going to deplete that as well. So this idea that you can just list, and it will help your eBay business has some serious flaws and challenges to it that I think for a lot of people don't make sense. Because by definition, if you're struggling with your sales, however you want to define that, and we're all going to define that differently based on our own particular situation. But if your sales are struggling, that's a huge limitation to this idea of listing, because you just don't have the money to buy the items that you need to list. Let's say you've listed everything that you have and sales are, let's say you're getting 0 sales. Now, where does the money come from to buy new items? I mean, nobody ever asked that question in these videos or when we give this advice as resellers. We just tell you, oh, list. But where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from if you're not getting the sales? Because even if you're getting sales, has to be set aside for your business expenses. Some has to be set aside for taxes. Some has to be set aside to pay eBay and PayPal their fees. It's not all gravy coming back to you, right? Some of it, you could argue, has to be there to replenish what you spent on those items in the first place. And some, you know, if we're lucky, we actually get to keep, as you know, because we're in business to actually, you know, make money for ourselves here or our family or whatever we're doing it for. But it all kind of comes back to the capital one. Like that's the one that I cannot figure out. If a big, huge retailer is struggling with their sales, they don't go out and just buy a lot more product. They don't. They don't. First of all, those decisions are made way in advance in most cases. If you're here, we're in the latter part of 2017. And if I was a large multi-billion-dollar corporation and I'm trying to figure out what our sales will be in 2018, 2019, 2020, I'm making plans already and have probably already made plans, you know, even years in advance sometimes for what we want to, you know, what we're going to buy, how much we're going to spend on sourcing. And we're also going to make some guesstimates about, you know, what we're going to spend on salaries and operations and taxes and all these things. But you can't just go out, guys, and buy all the thingies when your sales suck and list it all. It's true. It's true.
Well, and we talked this morning. I mean, it's not enough to just say, go list, because you're right. It's all relative. Like your time, your resources, your inventory, your capital, your money. Like it's just unrealistic just to put, like that can no longer be the mantra. Like that can no longer be the pat answer for why am I not making any money on eBay?
Right.
That's my pat answer voice in case.
Well, and I'd put here as one of my points that if you don't see a corresponding bump up in sales, if whatever your strategy is, right? If you don't see a corresponding bump up in sales and you keep trying to list, eventually you will run out of space, time, and or money, or all three.
Yeah.
You will.
Sanity even.
Take it to the extreme. Let's say we'll take space. Let's say, we've got 1,200 items or so here in the house. Suppose we wanted to really push up our sales. Where would we put 5,000 items, 10,000 items in this house?
And we've had this discussion.
It's not possible. Like we would run, even if we had the capital. And by the way, I don't know where we get the time to list it either, but we wouldn't have the space or the time to list it.
No.
There's no way. Like it just doesn't make sense. And that's just like all three of those factors come into play as limitations here potentially to the listless list strategy.
Sure.
I should have called this like the 3L strategy or something clever. That's not very clever, but I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Cricket.
We need that sound effect. I think you're right.
We need a cricket sound effect and apparently a wazoo emoji. Yes, Peanut Gallery, I am paying attention and you're cracking me up. Stop it.
So Denise asked, so what's the solution? Well, all right, caveat. I don't have all the solutions, okay? I don't.
Whoa.
It's true.
You don't?
It's true. I'm not one of these people who's going to sit here and tell you that I figured out all the thingies and that I know how to make great sales appear for every eBay seller out there. I don't even know how to do it for myself sometimes. I mean, that's just being honest. But I do know one thing, and this is kind of based on what the listing strategy is based on. And we've talked about this recently a lot. eBay's algorithm seems to like change. It seems to like anytime it sees a change in your listings, in your store, in your account. And the reason it does that is probably, and again, this is somewhat anecdotal, but the reason it seems to like change is because if you were running eBay, think about this. This means something's different. This means if you're going to show it to a prospective buyer, something has changed, something new and interesting. There's a good logical argument to be made that when that happens, eBay has some incentive to push you up in search, push you up in the rankings, the visibility for your items, which then means more people see them, which means you have more chance of a sale, which means you can get more sales. All right. And that's kind of what the listing idea is all about. If you're listing, then eBay would have to re-index your account. But we've already talked about why that's not a practical strategy to do just that, because you have all these limitations. So there are things you can do that will make things different about your listings that don't require space and capital. They do require some time and energy. You will need that to spend on them. Granted, not a lot.
Can I make my price suggestion now?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So one of the things, and there are some other resellers, everybody's got a system, right? And you have to choose whatever's going to work for you. And one of the things that immediately jumped into my mind as far as tweaking it just enough to make that initial, just a little smidge of change is enough.
Right.
Right? Change the price, even if it's just by a penny. Some resellers actually use a code so that just by looking at what the item is priced at by whatever the cents ends in, hopefully this is going to make sense, they know how long it's been there. Like you started at 99 and then the next time it comes up, it's 98, 97 and so forth. And then, you only do that maybe 5 times or 9 times. And then their next go-to is, okay, now we're going to put it on auction or we're going to change it to good till cancel or whatever we're going to do with it.
Right.
But just changing it by even a penny is still a change.
Right. That's exactly right.
And you have to adapt whatever system's going to work best for you. And that's just one that immediately it just made sense. Not only are you making a change, but you can make it in a way that you can track it. Like you don't have to get so bogged down in all the little thingies, right? The minutia of spreadsheets and formulas and all that. You don't have to make it complicated. For sure. You don't have to keep it simple. That's my ongoing, besides making lemonade all the darn time, keep it simple. So if you can come up with a way, not only that you're tweaking, you're changing your price, even by a penny, it's still change, and do it in a way that it makes sense to you. And then you're also at the same time tracking, and make yourself a cheat sheet. Like, okay, 99 is the first time I list it. Then 98 is the next month. And 90, oh, if I put 97, that means I'm going to close it out, you know, or whatever combination of those things it needs to be. Just a little change, even a penny is enough.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And that's something we've incorporated into our listings. And what's odd is last month, for the month of October, and let me have a caveat here. For jean sales, which is the predominant amount of our store, October is typically the best month. All right. So let me just get that out of the way. I'm not going to gloss over that fact. It typically is, but you know, it's going to vary a little bit. But last month, we did more sales than we did in September. I'm going to be honest with you. Our listing effort last month sucked. It sucked. There was a bunch of different reasons for it.
It sucked so bad.
Which are, you know, we chose some other things, and some things we didn't choose.
Well, some things chose us. I mean, some of you guys know we've got some really heavy family health issues going on right now.
Like at the same time, 2 different families.
And we're doing a great job not showing it here, but it's like the equivalent of 2 other full-time jobs. At the same time, we're trying to make all this work. And then there's rugby and mama drama, and I'm not even going to get into it.
Yeah, the typical stuff. But we've kind of had some other extra family stuff that's not typical. And that did affect our results in some ways. And then we had some other things going on. We were working on the jeans guide, which took quite a bit of time and effort to behind the scenes for that. But regardless of all those things, it doesn't matter. I mean, those are excuses, whatever. But we just didn't list as much last month, but did more in sales than we did the month before. Significantly more, not like, you know, double or triple or anything like that, but more in sales. So the one thing that I did do last month consistently was every time an item ended, I went ahead and changed a price on it by a penny, by Karen's method that she was talking about. And I use that to track how long it's been listed too. Like 99 means it's been up 1 month. 98 means it's been 2 months, so on and so on. And then usually I take it to a certain point, just to leave it there. But I did that every time that listings fell out every day. And when I did that, I would see more sales that day or within 24 hours, even without listing anything. There was plenty of days last month I did not list anything.
Not a thing.
Nothing. Zero. There were probably more days. There were more days last month I did not list anything versus than I did list things by far.
So we did an experiment, just not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
But it's telling. And I don't know why, but every time we get a super chat, I want to cry and shout and laugh all at the same time. You guys are so sweet. So start with Rob. Could we, just because I interrupted us anyway? I can't read it from here.
Rob says, forget high ROI and try low ROI. I've seen results, saves listing plus packing time, space. Don't buy crap, even if it's free. Good advice, Rob. And thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, and Krillin is a huge supporter of the channel. Visit him. He actually does videos too.
Yes, he does on his channel. So you can click on his icon, avatar. I'm not sure what the right word is. Anyway.
His pick, his bubble, his circle, his... And then Cindy.
Thank you very much, Cindy, for the super chat. Thanks for all the information. She split the word up. I don't know if she did that on purpose, but it was pretty cool.
Oh, no, she did that because I can't see, and it makes it easier for me to read.
Oh, I see. Oh, that was nice.
But thank you, guys. And again, I'm going to cry and laugh and shout all at the same time. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm always taken aback by that. But
just an offer. Daggone offer.
Hey, would you take $5 for these $100 leather boots?
No,
please?
That's not what it was. So changing something like your pricing should help too. At least, I mean, again, this is anecdotal because it's changing something. Running the sale, maybe changing the time till your items end, how long before they end. Like, they were 10-day listings. Now maybe you make them 30. Go in and change some things on your listings on days that you don't list and see if it gives you a little pop. And the funny thing is, every time I would change these change these prices, what would sell was not those items. It was something else. So that kind of indicates to me that maybe my items were getting re-indexed by the algorithms and so on. I don't know 100%. I can't sit here and prove this to you, but on the surface, it seems like whenever you change something with your eBay listings, at least some significant number of them, I don't mean one, but more than that, it tends to give you a bump in sales.
Oh, and I just remembered something else. Remember how a couple of shows back we were talking about how, and at some point we're going to have to address the slog of old inventory, right? Sure enough, what was it, Monday? We sold our oldest clothing item. Like, I think it was inventory like SKU number 100 or something, which would have meant it was like from the way back, right?
Yeah.
And we sold it. Like you were talking about how it just sort of poof from out of nowhere. Like we're selling all this stuff from,
Yeah, it's weird how it works, guys. So some of you out there are like, my sales suck, or they're not what I want them to be. And I know I should keep listing, but I don't want to have to go buy another 50 items or 100 items and spend, $200, $300, whatever. I don't know what your cost per item is. Who knows? But we all have different things that we're sourcing. So there's just not, it's hard, because if what you're doing isn't working and you continue to keep doing that, at what point do you realize that, well, I'm not getting different results. So I need to change something about this. So my recommendation is, and there's nothing wrong with listing all the time either. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying I don't think it's sufficient. And I think you can run into all these real issues about time and space and energy and capital to do it. Why not change something else? Why not try to get the algorithms on eBay to look at your store and listings again and maybe push you up and get some sales? Because guys, there's a well-known fact that if you can get on the first page of like a Google search for a topic, people are going to come to your website, your blog, your channel, your whatever, right? I don't think it's that different with eBay. If you can get on the first page or two of search results for a particular item, you got a good shot at a lot of people seeing that. And if a lot of people see it, somebody's probably going to buy it. Somebody's going to buy it. I mean, that's the way we are. We're all kind of, who really gets on there and searches through 30 or 40 or 50 pages of results for something? Most people don't. Most people don't. They're like, oh, that's my size. Looks reasonable. I'm going to get that one. Looks like a good photo, whatever. Good price is okay. And boom, you just move on.
Well, and I can't say enough, whether it's your channel, my channel, mom channel, whatever, if you keep doing the same exact thing, the same exact way over and over again, you're going to get, for the most part, the same exact results. So if you're not happy with them, or if they're not turning out the way you think they should, then you're going to have to tweak it. You're going to have to change it. You're going to have to do a little something differently, or it's just going to keep going on and on, the same old, same old.
Yeah. And last month we ran into the situation, it was weird lighting there for a second. We ran into the situation where, we could not, for other factors, it was hard to really figure out how to get more and more listed. So I had to be creative, and I had to change things with like the pricing. And that was the primary one I did. I really didn't change too many items listing time. I didn't change too many 30 days to good till cancels or days or whatever. I just changed pricing, honestly, and saw a bigger sales bump than I did the month before. I mean, I can't sit here and prove it. My example of one does not really prove anything. It doesn't. I think about things mathematically and so on, and that doesn't really prove the case. But on the surface, I think there's some evidence to suggest that it will help you. Why not try it? What have you really got to lose here by going in and bumping your prices down a penny or two or nickel or whatever system you want to come up with, $1, whatever. And do it with, if you have 10 listings that fall out today, and sometimes I wouldn't change some listings. Like some, I'm like, that price seems pretty much where it should be. I'm going to leave that one there, but I'll change the other ones.
Well, and Lauren brings up a good point. She said that, a lot of people, and we don't, I think the girls we all got together that one time and talked about keywords, right? Good, effective keywords are indeed gold. Wrench that you are, Lauren. Thank you as always. But she's got a good point there.
Yeah.
And that's certainly a thing that you can tweak and get better at. We'll say all the time, And I know that some people still do this and it still seems to work for them, but people aren't necessarily searching for a cool pair of shoes.
Right.
You know, they're searching for these Bjorndal, Nursey, Wampy, whatever's, you know, in black. You know what I'm saying? Like they're searching for a specific thing. And you have to, like in your description, if you want to go all hippie and creative and colorful, fine. But when it comes down to it in that title, you have only so much space. It's like, that's your ad, that's your billboard, that's your coupon, your whatever, your hook. So you've got to be specific and think about what people are searching for. Yeah,
no, that's exactly right. And somebody was asking about, we'll take some questions here too, guys, but we're also going to, we're actually going to show you some questions we've gotten recently too. Rebecca was asking about a payment through Gumroad for the Killer Jeans guide. So Rebecca, if you want to email me at profsales44@gmail.com, I will look at what you're saying there. Yeah, I typed it earlier, but she may not have seen it.
All right, I'll type it.
So Karin will type that in the chat box too, if you can take that down and just send an email and we'll figure out if there was some sort of, I'm not sure what issue. It gets delivered to you electronically. So there you go.
I did something different. Hold on.
I don't know what Karin's doing over here. When she doesn't have her glasses on, it's hard to say what she'll type.
All right, I think I did it right now.
But yeah, if you guys know other things too that will you think will help besides just the list strategy, and somebody mentioned earlier that Bonafide talked sort of about the subject yesterday or the day before, and he did, and it kind of got me to thinking. Like his video got me to thinking about this subject because I've been thinking about this for a while. Like I'm the kind of guy who thinks that conventional wisdom is usually neither conventional nor very wise. A lot of times it just sort of gets put out there and we don't really think it through. And this whole listless list thing, I've kind of bought into in the past as well. And I'm beginning to think it's not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's important, but it's not the cure-all that resellers tend to say. And it doesn't take into account the limitations I mentioned earlier.
I think if somebody, like the next time I'm asked that question, like how can I make my sales and my business better? I think my answer is going to be balance. Because it's all the thingies and how they react together, right?
They work together, sure.
So I have to take a so Shane reminds us that, however, someone may search for Kuhl pants, Kuhl, which I personally happen to love. They're awesome and they're really good. We get them all the time. Found some new with tags on, women's hiking ones actually that were just gorgeous.
Yeah. So. All right, so we're going to take a couple questions, some screen shares we did here too, guys. And of course, if you have questions, you can type them in the chat.
Which one do you want to be? You be one of them, I'll be the.
Well, I could be this one.
Good cop or bad cop?
You're fine. All right, so our first question is from Classic Rock Lover, or comment rather.
Oh, you just like that name.
There it is.
Okay. I like that your channel features a good mix of cut and dry math as well as motivational cheerleading. Failing at either one cannot be an option. Oh, I need my pom-pom. Where's my pom-pom?
You have your pom-pom?
Yep. So just for that person. This is just for that cool named rock and roll person.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that you have to find motivation to do this every day. Yeah. And it's hard. Let's be clear. There's days we wake up and it's like, oh, whatever, you know, I mean, I think everybody does that, and you have to find your motivation. And I think if you surround yourself with people and influences that are optimistic and positive, it will rub off on you. Just like if you surround yourself with negative people and people who are always pessimistic, that will rub off on you. So you make a choice about who you're around and or not. So.
And because of some personal things that are going on with me lately, I can tell you that no matter how dark or grim it gets, stick to your guns. Hold on to that optimism and that bright light that's inside of you. And if you need like a reminder of that, send me an email. I'll boost you up. Like there's no reason to get bogged down in anybody else's drama. It's just not worth it.
Right. All right. So now we have two comments that we're going to put together here. So this first comment is on our $2,000 a month on eBay in just an hour per day video, which we did. I think I did that earlier this week.
You be this person.
All right. So the comment is from Sam Hagans, who says very unrealistic numbers.
Wah, wah.
And then We also have on that same video,
next comment.
That, yeah, or very close to that same
Mm-hmm.
one. That's the one.
I want to be this person. So thanks, Prof, for a good and realistic breakdown of achieving some basic solid eBay numbers. Cha-ching! Appreciate all the time given by yourself and Karin to help those of us still learning this crazy biz. Oh my gosh, how can two different people have two different opinions about the same video?
Only on the internet could that happen. And you know, that illustrates the point that everybody has a different impression about this business, about numbers, about sales,
about success, about process.
Right, about what you need to do, what you shouldn't do, what's possible, what isn't possible. And I point that out because those two comments came in on the same video. Mm-hmm. And were from two different people. They both had two different perceptions of it. And this is not about saying one is right or one is wrong. But, you know, you're going to have to find your way in this and what will make sense to you and for you in your situation. And what I tried to illustrate in that video was if you did these things, you could, if you built your store up to a certain point, you could just maintain it mm-hmm. and generate a decent rate of return. Now, what's a reasonable rate? We can argue about that. Mm-hmm. Will you get the sell through, the average sell price you need? Those are all, you know, arguments to be made. But I just thought that was interesting.
And with that one, we don't know why they're unrealistic.
Well, like, that's fine. I mean, they, you know, they don't, you know, it's their opinion.
But you even said, you can double this to make double. You can even cut it in half if that's too steep for you.
I did.
Like there's just adapt your own version of that model. And I think it's
right. As one metric changes, it changes all of them.
Well, sure
like
it does.
It cascades through.
Word of the day, people, balance.
You like that word, don't you?
I do.
All right. Is this one me? Is this one me or you?
I don't know. Is it a fun one? If it's a fun one, it's me. If it's
well, it's just kind of a nuts and bolts.
Oh, you can be nuts and bolts.
I see what you did there. Matt, I think this is Matt. It's MA_TT. Says, hey, I'd like to start a business, but I don't know much about taxes and all that stuff. How do I start a business without knowing that stuff? That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Where can I find out? Should I create the LLC and then find an accountant? Help, please. Thanks. So thank you for your question, Matt. I actually referred Matt to my accountant for some of those questions. And because I'm not an expert on what business structure you should have and should you hire an accountant and what your tax situation is, there's no way I can be an expert on that. I don't have special training in that. I have my own experiences and what I've learned, which may or may not apply to you. But I applaud Matt because Matt is asking those questions before he starts, which is always better than waiting until after you start because you can kind of get off on the right foot and know what your options are and move forward. So I think that, you know, anytime you're thinking about starting a business, the structure of that business, which is a lot of the question that Matt was asking, is really important because it changes the way the taxation works in that particular structure or for your business. So you definitely want to think about that and talk to your tax professional, a business consultant, someone who has more knowledge about that subject than you do, so they can give you options. They're not going to tell you this one's the best necessarily or this one's the best. They're going to say, hey, here are the pros and cons of all of them. What makes sense to you given that information? And if you go to someone who's reputable and who's licensed and experienced, then you have information that you know you can trust and at least comes from a place of experience and practice and so on, and not just somebody wrote it on an internet forum.
Or it was on a YouTube video by somebody that doesn't. So I'm just bouncing in my seat. So Eastern Oregon, I called it the wrong thing. Picker. Yep. But I think I'm saying the state correctly because I've been there and they correct you if you say it's
Oregon.
Wrong. It's Oregon, right?
Oh,
it's not
I didn't
Oregon.
know that.
Don't you actually pronounce the O-N?
Oregon. Almost like gone.
Oregon. Anyway, I had to. It's like in all caps, and it's like so true. Love this way of thinking. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Mic dropped. There you go. I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. And no, absolutely. Beachtown Reseller said, I love your videos, but I thought your times for sourcing were far, far off unless you're buying in bulk. I have to dig to find items worth listing. Most sellers do too. Well, in our case, we are niched into a lot of jeans and shoes. So
jeans and shoes.
we are able to go into a store and go very quickly through those. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to go through 350 pair of jeans in the average Goodwill, I would guess, somewhere around there. And this includes time in and out of the store, there and checked out in 30 minutes or less. We've done it many, many times.
And we've timed it. Stopwatch and all.
We've timed it in many different stores. So we were, but it depends. Like if you're literally looking through, say, all the hard goods in a thrift store.
Coffee mugs.
Yeah, or a consignment shop, and you're literally looking at every single item and you're not niched down to where you can go through things very quickly. Agreed. You can't do it that fast. There's no way. I totally agree with that. But if you do have a niche, whatever that niche is, or maybe even 2 or 3 niches, I think you can go through them really quickly. Luke, our buddy here in town, I've seen him go through dress shirts and blazers. He's fast.
Rocket fast.
And going through blazers is not a quick process because you literally have to kind of pull the jacket open, and sometimes the label's on this side, sometimes it's on that side, and then look at the size, and then pull it up and check it for holes. And dress shirts, he flies through them. I've seen him do it many times. And Tino, I've sourced with him in Austin going through shoes.
Oh, yeah,
he goes through them way quicker than I did. He would get through like 5 or 6 times as many shoes as I did in the same amount of time.
That's practice, though. I mean, you can't possibly go into this. Like, if you're new to reselling, stop beating yourself up. Like, you're not going to be like rocket fast the first Goodwill you walk into. I'm sorry if I'm bursting any bubbles here, but it just doesn't work that way. You have to educate yourself. You have to practice over and over and over again. And we talked, we did a jeans video again a week or so ago, and we talked about how when I first started doing it, I might have a good eye, like, for a quality made product or a designer label or whatever, but jeans, all the thingies, like all the titles was new to me. So I was limited to 5. I think Jason gave me 5 brands in the beginning.
That's right, I did.
And then we joke that I still went to him with like every cool thing I found, apple bottom jeans, whatever. But you have to baby steps and then you get there. Like, you can't just like hold up that jeans guide to your brain and by the power of osmosis, suddenly you're 101 brands
you're not going to remember 101 brands.
And then you go to the store. And you go to the store and then you're going to know them all. So just, give yourself some grace and just, it's a process. That's all. It's important. It's an important process. Niching is going to help you in other ways to streamline your business, but just, it's going to take some time.
Sure. And the faster you can source, the faster you can photograph, the faster you can list, that cuts down on that time and energy need if you do want to list more, like we started the beginning of the show with, because now you're in sourcing. Now you can do all those things faster, so that frees up some time and energy for other things, whatever those other things are. So becoming better at your craft is always really important in this game, just like it is in every business, And I think sourcing, Lauren was saying it takes years to be a super fast picker. Totally agree.
That's not all she said. She also admitted to being a beast.
Yeah, and right. I mean, because when you've developed an eye for it and your experience for it, you don't spend much time on the crap. You don't spend much time on the stuff that's not very good, on the things that aren't going to make you a lot of money. You can instantly spot those and be like, I don't need to worry about those or that brand or that color or that size or that model. It's not a thing. But the other things that are good, you're going to see those quickly as well. So you start speeding up everything about it. What you don't pick is just as important as what you do pick. So, and
it's or a gun, like
or a gun.
So there you go. I love this grammatically correct community that we are a part of.
We got one more.
We do.
Question.
I'm ready. Okay. And then if you guys have questions, just put question marks, all caps in the chat, and we'll get to them because we missed some earlier.
And it took forever to get to this one.
Oh, so I think Edith's in the chat right now, actually. Edith McKee says, you have great titles, but it takes you forever to get around to completing the subject. What? What does that even mean? Is that talking about our listings? I don't think so. I think it's about these shows. Yeah.
I think it's about the shows. I think Edith's calling us out. All right, Edith.
Oh boy. All right. Explain yourself. No, just kidding.
No, one of the things we started doing a few months ago was we would have a topic for a show and we would give you a quick sort of bumper mention of it and what it was. And then we would introduce ourselves, because because there's people who watch these shows who don't know us. It's the first time watching and they're like, who are these people? And then we would jump into the topic. takes as long as it takes, Edith. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, sometimes they're shorter, sometimes they're longer. I'm definitely a thorough person, or try to be, when it comes to a topic, and sort of break it apart and deconstruct it from every angle.
It's his real life professor background, I assure you. But then, you know, when it's a live show, we kind of have to give people time to sort of filter in. And we've done hour-long shows. People aren't happy. We've done half-hour shows. Like, one's too long, one's too short, one's too short, one's too long. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we do our best with it. It's always a learning process.
We're trying so hard.
It's all. Silver Hair Stacker says, "Who are you people?" That's a great question. But no, but we do appreciate the feedback, you know, and we do take all the feedback we get, positive, negative, not even negative a lot of times, just constructive. And we do our best to go after it. So Edith says, sometimes you don't get around to answering the question. Oh, professor. Okay.
Makes sense now, doesn't it, Edith?
Now it all makes sense to Edith.
And here's if you have a question, Edith, seriously, we're not really giving you a hard time here. But if you have a question, like in the live chat, type the word question all in caps, or question mark, question mark, question mark. And we don't take offense if you have to actually cut and paste it again, because sometimes this chat's just rolling through and it will sometimes disappear. So we can't even go back to it.
Yeah.
So please, we're not like ignoring questions on purpose or, you know, whatever, but getting to the subject of the title just sometimes takes a little bit long.
Right. Beachtown says, still don't think your time's unrealistic. So Beachtown, I'm gonna offer you a challenge. If you're ever over this way, I don't know where you're from, but if you're ever over in this part of the world, we're gonna take you with Tiffany to the bins, and you see how many items she pulls out in a half an hour or an hour.
Like, if you think our numbers are realistic, oh my word.
She's a beast.
She's a different kind of beast of a different kind of color.
Way more than 10 per hour.
And she's what is she up to now? Her store, like,
I don't know, like 5,400, 5,500, something crazy like that. Like, she will pull out, I don't even know how many she would pull out in an hour at the bins. Probably, she could easily pull 60 to 70 items one a minute. I'm literally not exaggerating that. We've seen her do it on more than one occasion. And the way she sources is very unique and so on. And it's good stuff. Like, it's stuff that will sell. It sells for good profit. It's
amazing. Like, she can just look at, like, a lot of people will talk about how they can just touch something or look at some, like, she's got the Midas touch. That one.
Jennifer's in the chat. She has seen Tiffany do the same thing.
Hey, rainbows and unicorns.
And Tiffany's done this for a long time too. She's been selling for about 17, 18 years. So she has a lot of knowledge. She can pick stuff up really quickly, but it's just becoming very proficient at what you're doing. You know, it's being pro versus, you know, being just a experienced amateur.
Did they say where they're from?
Who?
The beach town.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're ever over in the Carolinas, you know, come check it out, because I mean, it's just a learning curve to get to that point.
Yeah. And in that video in particular, we used our times. Like, we really do. We time us.
Yeah.
But like, before we ever tell you it takes this long to do this, and we got a little bit of pushback from maybe even Rob. Like, you guys kind of talked a little bit about how long it takes to list or how long it takes to photograph, and we totally constructed and deconstructed everything that we do on purpose and in detail, and we drilled it down and wrote it all down, like, really.
Ask Luke and Chris, 10K on the Bay. We all three tracked it for a while between us and how long it took. And that's how long it took, because you're batching things together. You're doing, you know, 10 at once. You're doing 10 items for photos, and then 10 items for this. It doesn't take as long as people think if you've got your processes down. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you could, you know, just crush a listing every 6 minutes for 8 hours a day. I don't know that you could do that. Like, I think you would get tired. Your productivity would drop. I think everybody's productivity drops when you you can't operate at like peak efficiency for 8 or 10 hours a day. I mean, that's probably too much. But in burst, sure, absolutely you can. And that's how you plan your day and your week.
Well, and Rob, we don't disagree with you. Like, if you could fine tune it all, like I think you said almost the exact same thing when you did your show by yourself with the whiteboard. But you're absolutely right. If people could fine tune it, there wouldn't be death piles. But, you know, who can sit there for 8-10 hours a day and just list straight? And you're kind of
more
supporting,
power to you if you can.
And you're kind of supporting the whole purpose of this video and the title, and bringing you guys in and saying that you can't just list, because you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, you don't have the money. Like, all of those things are related to your ability to just sit there like a machine. If we could all list all day, well, but all of those other things are affected as well.
Yeah.
And I think that people, they get distracted. They don't have the money. They have to go pick up their kids from school. They have to do whatever. They have to make dinner. They have to clean. They have to go to a day job, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And you need to kind of plan your listing or your photographing or whatever you're doing with your business. You need to plan it in chunks where you can, like Karen was saying, realistically devote that time to that, like nothing else. Because if you don't, your productivity is going to drop way off. And that's just how we're all wired. So I don't know. I mean,
I'll be right back.
Try this experiment sometime though. Try to turn off your smartphone, turn off your notifications, turn off everything else that will be a distraction to you, and take 1 hour, let's say, maybe that's the magic time, set out a list of items and see how many you can photograph in that 1 hour, and start a stopwatch and really focus on just that. Don't get distracted on anything else. Don't worry about the listing. Just see how much you can get done in 1 hour of a particular type of item. I think you'll surprise yourself if you really focus in on it. A lot of us we kind of just halfway do it a lot of times. We're just sort of meandering through it, and, maybe we're listening to a YouTube video while we do it. I mean, we're doing other things, but really take some time to devote just to that and see what you can do. I'd be interested to see what you guys come up with.
So, hey, amuse yourself for a second. So, hey, Lauren, look, I tried this and it wasn't bad, but my store finally got this back in. Sorry, the girls are talking coffee. And you're absolutely right. Without the coffees, yeah, no, not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you can continue now, as you were.
All right, as I was. All right. What else you got?
I don't know. Did we have any show and tell? I did the pom-pom thing. I showed off my coffee. I don't know.
Well, listen, guys, it's Friday, so the weekend's coming up. Hope you guys are going to go out and find some great deals if you're looking for things to list.
Yeah, and hey, Rob, just so that we don't let it slip by, I think a survey is a great idea, and we'll figure out a way to get a better average, because you're right. We've been doing this for a while, so we're going to be a lot quicker and a lot more streamlined. But sure. Right. We can put some numbers to that. Why not? Yeah, so it'll be fun. All right, guys. So look, if you haven't checked out the jeans guide, it's available in the link down below. It is available for sale. We hope if you want to sell jeans, or maybe just up your jeans game, learn some things about jeans maybe you didn't know, or brands you didn't know, which is so far the #1 question in our jeans group, which, by the way, you'll get access to an exclusive Facebook group just for people who have who've gotten the guide. I'm in there a lot. Answering questions. I think it's the best part. Well, besides the book is pretty awesome. Labor of Love, I call it our baby, because Lord knows we put just about as much time into that as a child. Yes. Check out the guide if you'd like. Like I said, the link's down below. It's really good. I hate to brag on it, because I know we did it, but it is good. Like, and the feedback we've gotten from has been great too. Like, it's a good product. Like, I put a lot of time. You guys know how I'm analytical about this stuff, and I put a lot of time and thought and energy into this to make sure that it was as good as I can make it. I thought about which brands I was going to pick and for what reasons, and I had a very specific reason for the ones that I picked, and so on. And I think it's helpful. I think you can take that guide and you could take it as a reference with you, or you could try to learn it by memory as well. And because people already are, you could go out and find like 10, 15, 20 pair of jeans in your average thrift store, for instance, the first trip, that are going to sell for good money, and just keep doing that, and you're going to it's just going to multiply and multiply. So, we've honed all those skills over the course of thousands of jeans that we've sourced and listed and sold. So hopefully you guys will check that out and find value in it. Do you see that last comment? That's funny. Does the jean guide have pics? Yes. No. Who sells more jeans than we do? Levi's, maybe. Well, no, that's very nice of you to say, but there's a lot of people I'm sure who do. But it's not even just about how many. It's also like, what do you know and you learn from it. And I think we've taken a lot of the things in the guide that were mistakes that we made and made it so you won't make those mistakes. Well, hopefully. So Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we're hoping. There's that whole glossary section.
Right.
All right,
Absolutely.
so we're bragging about our baby too much now. Come on.
All right. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. The weekend's coming up, and I hope it's awesome for you. You find lots of thingies.
Yeah, and it's Friday, so we get to sing our song, right? Happy
sales
sales to you till we meet again.
Oh, it sounded bad. Good sales to you.
Good sales to you. Bye.